Expected points, clean sheet odds, and who is the best captain. This video has got all of the information you need to know ahead of Game Week 10. Alright then, we're going to start this Ultimate Guide video like we do with every Ultimate Guide video in the series by talking about the top players by position for predicted points. And the predicted points come from Fantasy Football Hub. And if you want to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub yourself, you can use the link at the top of the description below. We got goalkeepers as the first position, and David Raya is the top goalkeeper ahead of Game Week 10. 4.4 predicted points for him against Burnley away. I think it's a good fixture. Arsenal are, in my mind, by far and away the best defence in the league. I think he's probably the best goalkeeper in the game, isn't he? Let's be honest. 5.7 million is quite expensive, but I still think with the amount of clean sheets that Arsenal are keeping at the moment, you're getting value for that money. Donnarumma, it's interesting to see how highly owned he is and the fact that his price has also gone up to 5.7 million. I personally don't think I could back the Man City defence, and obviously losing 1-0 to Villa in Game Week 9 is a testament to that in my mind. I tell you what, Roofs of Sunderland, now obviously he's not as good as Raya in terms of outright expected points, but in terms of like predicted points per million, if that's the thing, he's 1.1 million cheaper. If you can spend that 1.1 million elsewhere to upgrade your team, he could be a good option, I think. Sunderland doing well. They're really in really good league position. I think they've only conceded 7 or 8 goals this season, so he's keeping clean sheets, getting saves points. Looks like a good option. Mamardashvili, you're looking at a starting Liverpool goalkeeper at the moment for 4.3 million. Short term, he's a good option, but obviously Alisson is going to be back from injury at some point, and he's going to replace Mamardashvili. But also, Liverpool are not playing well at the moment at all. Obviously, losing to Brentford and just in general not looking all that good and conceding a fair few goals. So I don't necessarily think he's all that good, even if you are getting a Liverpool starting keeper for that price. And then Bernd Leno, who fairly has a very decent fixture against Wolves. I always like to look at the 1 game week view and then also the next 5 game weeks. I think if you're making a transfer in FPL, you want to do so looking ahead more than just the 1 game week, right? I'm looking at a 5 game week time horizon here. You're probably looking at 3 to 5 game weeks. I don't think everyone's like making goalkeeper transfers, but we're covering goalkeepers first. We'll get on to the other positions next. Raya is top, Mamardashvili second, Donnarumma third, Rob Sanchez of Chelsea in fourth. Obviously, they're conceding goals, Chelsea, but I still think they're a decent enough defence. He's gone down now to 4.9 million. And then, for the first time this season, we've got a Man United goalkeeper amongst the top 5. And looking at the fixtures, you can see how that's come about, and especially how Man United have been playing recently. They really do look like they're turning a corner under Amorim. And it wouldn't surprise me to see Man United players of other positions amongst the top players for at least in my mind, for the top players for expected points. But yeah, Lamin's looking pretty good. Defenders next, and I've actually included a picture of Gabriel because his predicted points are currently restricted due to the fact he was flagged going into Game Week 10. Obviously, that flag has been lifted because he played. So I think Gabriel is the best defender, right? But just outside of that, we got Yuri and Timber, Munoz, Mukiele, Virgil van Dijk, and Calafiori. We currently have Mukiele, a 4.1 million defender who is the 4th best defender in the game for predicted points for Game Week 10. I think it's fair enough that he's of that level as well. He's got goal threat, DEFCON, attributes of potential and clean sheet potential as well with how decent Sunderland have been defensively. So, yeah, I don't know what more you can want for a minimum price defender. In terms of cheap defenders, so what I wanted to do here, goalkeepers I sort of showed you can have Roofs as a cheap one. You're going to look at, when you look at defenders on the most part, you're going to look at the most expensive ones that are going to top the predicted points. So I thought, you're not going to just stack your team purely with premium defenders, so it's useful to look at cheaper ones as well. Mukiele was on the list for top defenders anyway. He's 4.1 million. He tops the list for Game Week 10. You got 3 Crystal Palace defenders here in Gahey, Mitchell and Richards. For me, I think Gahey is probably the best of those 3. Bit of DEFCON, some attacking returns with threat from set pieces, and he's 32.2% owned in FPL at the moment. Mitchell, I don't see why you'd pick him over Gahey, and he's more expensive. And then Chris Richards, he's a little bit cheaper than Gahey at 0.4 million cheaper, but I think he's a little bit more reliable for DEFCON. Less reliable for attacking returns, but more reliable for DEFCON. And then Van Heck there of Brighton. This is one fixture of Leeds at home where he's in and amongst the top. I've never seen him on one of these lists before this week. Not sure I could pick him, but the rest of the 4 I think are fantastic options. Maybe not Mitchell from Palace because you may as well have Gahey, Richards or Munoz. But yeah, Palace defenders definitely definitely on the menu. And then for the next 5 weeks, Gabriel, Munoz, Virgil van Dijk, Timber and Gahey top the list. And I don't think that will come as much of a surprise to anyone. You know, Gabriel is just, he's the best defender in the game, in my mind. Munoz, I just spoke quickly about the Crystal Palace defence there. I just think they're solid enough defensively and they've got really good fixtures coming up. I can see why Munoz is up there alongside Gahey as well. Interesting one on Virgil van Dijk. I think if I had him, I'd sell him. But realistically, I'd probably only sell him for Gabriel. I think I'd just stick him in my team because he's decent for DEFCON. I feel like Liverpool are going to keep a clean sheet at some point in time. You know, they're too good not to. They just, obviously been in a poor run of form. Don't mind Van Dijk. I wouldn't buy him, but I probably wouldn't rush him out unless it was to replace him for Gabriel. Or maybe downgrade to a Palace defender to free up some funds. Moving on to midfielders, and, well, we always kind of see Salah amongst the top, and he is top. 7 predicted points against Villa, but I don't know. I can't. It's not in my team. I don't want to bring him in. 14.3 million for a player that is only, 0.8 expected points higher than Saka in Game Week 10, and not seen a whole lot from Salah this season. I know he scored in Game Week 9, but I've not seen a whole lot from Salah this season so far. I don't think he's worth it, to be honest. Saka's an interesting one because Burnley away is a fixture where, well, you could consider him as the best captain considering the fixture that another player has that you might consider captaining. Bruno Fernandes, 5.8 predicted points against Forest, then Gakpo and Ismaila Sarr. Same for what we did with defenders. I just thought I'd look at cheap midfielders. So I did a filter of 7 million and below. So we've got Ismaila Sarr, Szoboszlai. I'm not sure about Szoboszlai myself. I do like Ismaila Sarr though. Njai from Everton, I really like Njai. I really like Njai and I really like Ismaila Sarr. Njai in particular, I keep banging on about Njai, but DEFCON, penalties, really decent from open plays. Playing at the moment, I don't think he's scored yet at the time that I'm recording this video. I'll quickly check while recording. Rice, I don't mind Rice again for, potential attacking returns in DEFCON. Everton are currently losing 2-0 to Spurs. Van der Ven's got a brace, but yeah, I don't mind Njai. Don't mind Declan Rice either. And then Yakuba Minter actually of Brighton has done decently this season. I think he's a really nice differential. And, if you're on a 1 week punt, I think you could do a lot worse than Minter against Leeds. For the next 5 weeks, though, the top midfielders it's sort of the standard set, really, plus an interesting addition. So we've got Salah, Bruno Fernandes, Saka, and Semenyo. These are kind of expected, I would say. And then you got Bryan Mbeumo, who has been good for Man United this season. And it certainly does look like Man United are somewhat turning a corner in terms of their form. But yeah, Bryan Mbeumo's almost central to that, really. I would say not necessarily playing the talismanic role, but he's the one that is the hot forward at the moment in terms of scoring goals. So yeah, I think you could do a lot worse than picking Bryan Mbeumo in your FPL team at the moment, with the fixtures Man United have, and obviously the price that he's coming in. Forwards then, Haaland is the top forward. Bournemouth at home, his fixture. It's just a question in terms of captaincy. I said we cover captaincy, so we can talk about it here. It's just a question, I guess, of whether you would pick him against Bournemouth at home or whether you'd back Saka, who's got Burnley. That's the thing. But I think, for me, I'm probably going Haaland. The run of form he's in, obviously, unfortunately, it was the break of the streak. He didn't score in Game Week 10, but at the same time, his form has just been so good that one result would not put me off captaining him. Mateta, I think, we'll look at future game weeks as well, but I think Mateta is the biggest buy, I think, of Game Week 10, to be honest, the player that I want to buy the most. I'll be bringing him in. I think 7.6 million for the numbers that he's put up this season. He's scored, 5 goals, but averaged, I think he's got over 8 expected goals now. So he's getting the chances, just his finishing has been poor, but I'll back him to turn around that finishing and really, really kick on now, particularly now they got the Arsenal game out of the way. They've got some better fixtures. I think he's going to do really well. Gyökeres, I think he's all right, isn't he, Gyökeres? Did well in the Champions League and then obviously didn't score in Game Week 10. I just think Saka's better because he just has more routes to points to Saka in my mind. He did get DEFCON. I don't think it's going to be, sustainable. He's on set pieces to get assists. He's got some goal threat. The penalties will be shared between them. I just think Saka's better. Bowen, he's decent enough, but I've not seen enough from West Ham, to be honest. And I do like Voltemada as well. If I were to say who are my favourite 3 forwards in the game at the moment, I would probably say Haaland, Mateta and Voltemada. Those would be my 3. Haaland, Mateta, Voltemada and Igor Thiago of Brentford as well, I would add, actually. I think 6.1 million for what he's done this season is really good value. Goals he's scored against top opposition as well. It's not like he's been slotting them in against the bad teams. He's been performing in against the top teams too. I mean, Brentford just have a way, don't they, of just replacing their talisman every time. And they've done it, you know. Mbeumo gone, Thiago in to take the mantle. He's done really well. Isidore of Sunderland. The thing is, when you're picking someone like Isidore, I'm just not sure you're entirely convinced you want to start him every week. If you're paying 5.6 million for a forward that you're not sure you're going to start every week, well, I just don't see the point. And there is one glaring omission, I think mainly down to projected minutes in their algorithm, but it's got to be Krupi Jr., hasn't it? 3 goals now in his last 2 games, and he's still, well, he's might be 4.6 by the time this video goes out, but he's the minimum price you can get for a forward. So we have a starting forward for Bournemouth in good form at the minimum price in FPL. It's ridiculous. Strand Larsen scored a penalty in Gameweek 9. I think I caught that on the radio just before I started recording this video. I've always said I like Strand Larsen, and you know, coming back from that injury, that the plus sides to picking Strand Larsen are exactly the same as they were going into the season, and a lot of people were picking him in their teams. Penalties, 90 minutes, he's a good option. And then you got Calvert-Lewin and Welbeck as well. I'm not sure I would want to go for either of them, just really down to the injury record, to be honest. For the next 5 weeks, the top forwards are Haaland, Mateta, Watkins, Gyökeres and Isak. For me, I kind of disagree. I think Haaland and Mateta are definitely the top 2. Watkins maybe outside of that. Yeah, fair enough. But I just think Voltemada's up there as long as he stays in the Newcastle team. And I like Igor Thiago as well. I mean, you're looking at Isak there for 10.5 million. No one. His expected points might be good, but I don't think you'd want to spend 10.5 million on him. So in addition to all of those predicted points, then a couple things to round off the video. We've got some clean sheet projections courtesy of Solio. I don't think there are any major groundbreaking headlines in this one, apart from the fact, obviously, Arsenal top the list for clean sheet odds. They're just the best defence in the league, aren't they? And the projections back that up. I think the best way to have, I think having triple Arsenal is almost a given at the moment. I think 2 Arsenal defenders and 1 attacker is probably the way to play it. For me, I've got Raya, Gabriel and Saka. I'm perfectly happy with that. Man City look good for clean sheet odds, but I just can't bring myself to pick a Man City defender. And it's the same for Liverpool as well. Outside of Van Dijk, they don't inspire massive confidence with me. Newcastle, I always say this about Newcastle. At home, they can win and keep a clean sheet against anyone, but away from home, the jury's out at times with them. Chelsea, I don't mind, but I think if I'm targeting a defence this week, I'm saying Crystal Palace. You know, saying that the Arsenal defence is good is not news anymore, right? But saying the Crystal Palace defence are worth targeting, I think, is probably the main takeaway from here. The 6th best for clean sheet odds for the next 10 game weeks, right up until game week 19, and they got a few decent options in Munoz, Gahey, and Chris Richards. And honestly, I think you get what you pay for with all of them. So pick the one that you can afford with the rest of the team that you want. I reckon, I like the Palace defence. That's in terms of players to buy, I suppose. In terms of teams to target, West Ham, Sunderland are down there, but I'm not sure I could actually say Sunderland are a bad defence at the moment. So I'd probably say West Ham, Burnley and Wolves are the 3 that I'd say are really teams I target. And probably Leeds as well. Those are the teams I would look to target. And then in terms of Solio, so I like looking at Solio for projected points as well as fantasy. It's just nice to have a couple of sources, isn't it? They're still big on Salah, which is interesting. I think the Solio odds projection is still factoring quite a lot of last season's performance into their numbers. So yeah, Salah's still the top average expected points for the next 5, which is interesting. Haaland is 2nd. Then you got Saka, Bruno Fernandes, Gakpo, Gabriel, Ismaila Sarr, Mateta. Ismaila Sarr is actually ahead of Mateta for predicted points, which is interesting. Semenyo, Isak, and Mbeumo, Saliba, Cunha, and Njai. I don't think there's anyone here that's a massive surprise, but what I quite like about Solio, and what Fantasy Football Club does too, but Solio seems to really align with my brain in terms of projected points. Apart from Salah, yeah, in my brain in terms of where I think expected points should lie. And interestingly, it has Haaland as the top player for projected points in Game Week 10. He is the best captain, according to both Solio and Fantasy Football Hub. All right, there we have it. I'm back from my swimming competition in my room in my normal setup with my lighting and my mic. Everything's back. Hopefully the audio's all good. I can see it looks a bit loud on the mixer, so hopefully it does sound good. We did all that in one take as well, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Let me know what you think of the video in the comments. Any players you're looking to buy ahead of Game Week 10. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, which should be just there on your screen. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you in the next one.